All right, the last question is from Joseph Carnes. He was asking me a question about skills and fights. He says that he understands that skills are involved in combat sports and street fighting, and he says he thinks one of his skills and attributes is that he can take a good punch and just be able to keep going. It doesn't bother him, and he wants to know what, if any, short or long term problems that can cause by being hit repeatedly in the head like that in street fights. This is gonna be a long one too, because I'm kind of dealing with this right now, and if you see in this video today, I forget people's names a lot and things like that. So I've been in 60 MMA fights, well over 500 street fights. I've had probably, if I had to guess, I'd say I've had probably over 100 concussions. That's probably going to be hard to believe by some, but I know for sure I've had probably 10 concussions in 1 week at one point in time in my life. I can probably count 10 times I had concussions in 1 week. So I wouldn't doubt if my concussion total was over 100. Being able to take a punch is definitely a good skill and attribute. Someone might say that's probably not the skill you really want to have, but I do believe it is a skill and an attribute for sure, because I'm known for taking a beating. I was suspended for lifetime from ever fighting again by the Ohio State Athletic Commission, by Bernie Perfado, and he told me that he was banning me from fighting and suspending me for life because I just get hit too much. And he says even when you win, you take a lot of punishment. And you can ask a lot of people that I've fought, man, like my friend Matt Horning. He's a professional fighter, and he always said he would watch me fight, and he fought me, and he said he was just amazed at how I could just absorb the punishment, and it was like it just didn't faze me, and it just didn't bother me, and I would just keep going and eventually just work through it and win. So that definitely is an attribute and skill. It definitely is better to not be hit than to be hit. But yeah, I can understand why someone would think that is a skill. As far as short and long-term effects, there's a thing right now. It's called CTE. Now, don't ask me what it stands for. Google it yourself. It stands for something like I know the T stands for trauma, and I can't remember what the C and E stands for. So. Again, here we go with the memory thing. But I've been for the past, I believe it's past 4 years, I've been involved in a study at the Cleveland Clinic. I go to the Cleveland Clinic once, sometimes twice or 3 times a year, and they do tests on me. So I'm involved in this study for CTE. They made a movie about it with Will Smith. I think it was called CTE. I'm not too sure what it was called, but it was about CTE, and that's basically head trauma and the effects of head trauma. My short-term memory is like really, really terrible, and short-term memory is like real bad. Some of my long-term memory has been affected, but definitely my short-term memory is really shitty. It's kind of funny because me and my girlfriend will get in arguments or something like that, and she'll be like, "Oh, you say you got memory problems, but you could remember, but you don't seem to remember every detail when I did this, and this, and this. I think you have selective memory." So I can't decide what I remember and what I don't remember. Some jokes about CTE is like for example, like, I could watch a movie like tomorrow, and then a couple months later, someone would be like, "Oh, have you ever seen that movie?" And I'd be like, "No, And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna rent it and we'll watch it." and I'll start to watch, and I'll be like, man, I know I saw this movie, but I can't remember anything that happened in the movie. So I joke around where I'm like, it's kind of cool having CT because I can just watch a good movie over and over again, and it's like the first time I ever watched it, which is hilarious. But it is on a serious note. It is really bad. I drive semi trucks for a living, and when I was driving out of town and things like that, when I was going over the road, sometimes I would forget if I had a loaded trailer or an empty trailer. I would wake up and forget what town I was in. Thank God for GPS and the phone. I would forget where I'm at. I forget if my trailer was loaded or unloaded. And this is always a problem. Like when I live in an apartment complex right now, so I can't imagine that neighbors probably laugh. But when I leave for work or I leave to go somewhere, I'll leave and I'll come back right away because I forgot something. I'll leave, I'll come back again right away because I forgot something. I'll lock my door, I'll go in my car. I'll walk back in and out of the house 3 times because I forgot something or I think I forgot something. I'll lock my door, I'll go to my car, I'll get out of my car, I'll go back and check to make sure my door is locked again, even though I've already locked it, but I can't remember locking it. I'll be in the shower, I'll be taking a shower, and I'll be washing my hair, and I'll be like, wait a minute, I don't think I washed my body. I don't remember washing my body, or I washed my body, and I'll be like, man, I can't remember if I washed my hair, but I think I did, so it's really, really bad. For the average person, I don't know. I think mine would be worse because when I go to the Cleveland Clinic, they act like my memory is pretty good, and I know it's terrible. So that really tells me, like, they're comparing me to the other people that they see, and I guess compared to everyone else in this study, my memory isn't nearly as bad as everybody else's. So they don't seem to think my memory's that bad, but I know it's fucking terrible. So I guess I just showed you how much smarter I am than everybody else that's doing this test, because if they think my memory's pretty good, man, they have no idea, man. I can't imagine the dumbasses that are in this study. but getting hit in the head is definitely not good. I haven't been hit in the head in a long time in a street fight, thank God. I mean, I can't even remember the last time I got hit in the head, and maybe that's because I got CTE, but I don't. I usually get in a couple fights a year. My last fight I was in was last year at this truck stop. I was in work release, and I just had to one punch this guy. And then before that, the last fight I was in was like early 2016. I choked some guy unconscious in like 2 or 3 seconds, and he didn't even hit me. So I pride myself that I haven't been hit in a long time in a street fight. So I definitely don't want to make a habit of being hit and doing that, because eventually, when the older you get, your head can't take that punishment like it is, and it's going to be easier to knock you out. My ability to take punches isn't nearly as good now as it was when I was younger. I started getting knocked out a few times, later on at the end of my career, before I was suspended for life. So it's kind of like the Chuck Liddell. Everyone knows Chuck Liddell. Like when he fought Tito Ortiz, man, it was like Tito tapped him and he just fell over, So and Chuck used to have one of the best chins in MMA. You could hit him with a sledgehammer and he wouldn't go down. And now you just touch him and he falls over. So your chin is definitely something that's going to go eventually, and there's a lot of short and long term problems with getting hit in the head. Like, I can tell you this too. Like, when I was getting my head looked at by my doctor before I did the thing at the Cleveland Clinic, I had a CAT scan done on my head, or an MRI or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but I went to my doctor and he told me that there's like a layer of fluid around your brain, and it's almost like a shock absorbent for your brain. So your brain's in the shell, and you get hit in the forehead, and your brain bangs up against the front of your forehead because you punch, and punch and your head goes back and your brain goes forward. So your brain's getting banged around in there, and there's like some fluid that acts as like a cushion for your brain. And I had a CAT scan or an MRI on my brain a long time ago with this doctor, and I was starting to have memory problems, and I was telling him about it. And he's kind of like a friend of mine, so he did this CAT scan and MRI for free for me, and he compared it to the previous one, and that layer that I was telling you about that protects your brain, kind of cushions it, is a lot thinner than it was when I previously got the MRI. And there were some like bleeding spots in my brain where my brain was like, I had some like dry blood in my brain, so my brain's been bleeding a little bit, which isn't good. So that's pretty bad. But it's definitely there's definitely some long-term and short-term effects to getting hit in the head like that. So you're kind of going to start to get dementia, and your memory is just going to be shit. So I eventually imagine that I'm just going to fucking forget everything and not know who the fuck I am. Probably, I don't know. But yeah, I'm definitely going through that now, and it's definitely a struggle with work and kind of remembering to do things. You almost like forget how to do stuff sometimes too, with the CTE. So definitely that's definitely the long-term and short-term effects. You don't want to make a habit of that. I'm hoping, and I know you're probably a little younger than me, Joe, so you're probably not getting into as many street fights as you were when you were younger, but try not to get hit in the head when you're fighting. That's important. So that's what I can tell you about head trauma. Hope you learned something.